The Minnesota Vikings are 5-0 after beating the New York Jets 23-17 in London, going into the bye 5-0. That was a football game. I really didn't expect much more or less in a game in London, especially before the bye. I was, if you win, it's probably going to be ugly because that's just how those London games always are. They're really not ever clean. No team ever looks good playing in London. It just doesn't happen. You'd rather win ugly than lose pretty. Their defense looked pretty, so that's a plus. Aaron Rodgers, 3 interceptions, first time in his career to throw 3 interceptions against the Vikings. Got a little dicey there on that last drive. Thought I've seen it before, Harrison Smith mocking the discount double check. Rodgers with the drive to win it. Seeing that story quite a bit as a Vikings fan. Stephon Gilmore with a pick, 40 seconds left. Yeah, man, that was a little dicey. It's been a while. It's been a while since I have gotten that nervous in a Vikings game since last year. I have not really been nervous this year. They have not trailed in an NFL game, obviously, since week 1 against the Giants when it's 3-0. They have not trailed since then. That is insane. That is great, obviously. But this game, the problems were very obvious to the eye. I think you could see the problems. I don't really know if you need game tape to go back or all 22 film to go back and see the film. But Darnold did not look good. He was 14 for 31, 179 passing yards and a pick. Worst game as a Viking in only 5 games, so it's not a big sample size, but it was the worst he's looked. Offense did not look good. Aaron Jones could be a reason for that, but you can't put it all on Aaron Jones. I thought they just got a little too aggressive on offense. Every time they dropped back to pass, they tried taking a home run, and it was like, how many times is it going to take for you to see that that's not there? 31 apparently, but again, the one drive they needed to have to go put points on the board, they did. Would have loved a touchdown there on that drive. Really put it out of reach, but you get points there, forcing the Packers to need a touchdown, and your defense makes a stop in the red zone. It was a game. It was a London game. It's hard to, I guess, nitpick on these games because it's just London. Nobody ever looks good in London. Nobody ever looks enjoyed going to London and playing football. Now they get to go home on a flight, a much happier flight at the very least. Like, you'd rather win how they won than lose any other way, Like, you don't want a heartbreaker. Like, if they would have lost that game and then a heartbreaker going back to London or home in a long flight into the bye would have been a tough pill to swallow. But I suppose you want to be negative, you could say the writing's on the wall. There are some things that they have to fix going into the bye. Sam Darnold looks good with a clean pocket and guys open. When that's not the case, it's struggled the last couple weeks. So run game really has not been there when they need it to be. You would have loved to pound the rock in that second half, drain clock, and beat them. That was not the case. Aaron Jones going out early definitely did not help the run game, but Ty Chandler was getting like 2 yards a carry in the second half. Like they didn't do anything on the ground, which is kind of I mean I thought they'd run the ball better. I didn't think they'd pass at all in this game. I thought they'd have a very tough time. But the Jets secondary is probably the best in the NFL, and they were getting pressure on Darnold in this game, which I don't know, caused Darnold a little bit of hesitation, rib injury early in that game. Hopefully everything's good with him. Hopefully Aaron Jones is back after the bye, and T.J. Hawkinson. They need this bye. They need to figure some things out, and you'd much rather do that in a 5-0, figure things out in a win, coming off a win. But it was a football game. Not a pretty one, but the defense, again, 3 interceptions. Van Ginkel, pick 6. That really set the tone defensively, going up 10-0 at that point. And it was very obvious that I was telling my dad that they're not going to score another point in the second half. Like, I don't see it happening. And I think they scored 6. I think they scored 6 in the second half on field goals. But not the best showing offensively in this game. But again, a win's a win. In London, it's kind of the same as last week. Like, you'd rather win in Lambeau ugly than lose in Lambeau. You'd rather win in London ugly than lose in London. These are not, normal situations that you're expected to play pretty in. But they go into a bye. Detroit after the bye, that one will really be the test. I think that'll be the hardest opponent so far, and potentially the rest of the year their schedule gets a little easier than this, and you are 5-0 in the hardest part of your schedule. So, we can nitpick, but there's a difference between beating the Packers on the road and beating the Jets in London. So we'll see against Detroit. That's a home game for the Vikings with Aaron Jones hopefully coming back and T.J. Hawkinson with a little bit more preparation and rest. So that'll be a good one. Detroit looks good. Detroit looked good last year, so that'll be a good matchup. But luckily in week 7, it's not really do or die for the Vikings. Like, that'd be an unbelievable game to win, but you're looking pretty, right? You're looking pretty 5-0. And, yeah, good win. Well, good to get a win. Not the prettiest, but a win is a win. For 2 weeks in a row now, a win is a win. You'd rather win pretty than lose ugly. And, again, I reiterate, they may win ugly. They have not trailed since week 1. They're 4-0 since week 1. 5-0 counting week 1, but they have not trailed in 4 straight games. 5-0. SKOL. Onto the bye. Stress easy week. I'm excited to not stress. Even though it has been stressful, I can't even complain. It has not been stressful other than the fourth quarter of this game. 5-0, man. Gophers upset yesterday against USC. And why? Okay. 5-0. Skyuma, SKOL. On to Detroit. Let's go.